Hello, friend, and thank you for joining us again. We're going to be reading Chapter 2 of my award-winning young adult fantasy novel, Guardians of the Cosmic Clocks, The Emerald Tablets. Now, if you haven't seen the video for Chapter 1 yet, please go over, check that out first, and then come back and watch this video. The link will be right down in the description. I just don't want you to miss any of it and jump in and not understand what's going on. So if you need to watch Chapter 1 first, go over and do that. Come back here. And with that being said, let's get started. Chapter 2. What follows is of our own choosing. Zya plopped herself down on the side of her bed, grabbed her phone, and sent Eli a text. Meet you by the tree in 15. She laced up her trusty pair of bright red Converse All-Stars, pulled a light black beanie over her shoulder-length braids, and finished off the look with her favorite forest green bomber jacket. Zya hoisted her bedroom window and climbed out onto the slanted roof, shimmying down the trellis on the side of the house. Just as her rubber soles hit the padded lawn, the phone buzzed in her pocket. It was Elijah. Not if I beat you there. Zya smiled, taking off at full speed. The tree was a full-figured 200-year-old oak hidden back in the not-so-little forest between their subdivisions. They hadn't quite turned it into a treehouse. It deserved to stay wild with the other trees, but they'd installed a tire swing and nailed a handful of 2x4s to the trunk for a foothold. In this way, they were able to climb all the way to the top. Zya and Eli had come here so many times over the years. It felt like their very own little Terabithia, a magical place where anything could happen and imagination was alive. Zya felt like herself when she propped up in its branches. They'd sit there for hours talking about their lives, parents, why ants always seem to walk single file, or quite possibly absolutely nothing at all. Do you think we'll be like the adults when we grow up? Zya asked Elijah one Sunday afternoon as they sat there high in the branches of the old oak. I don't know, Elijah said. I guess. Why? Sometimes I don't wanna, she said. I don't get them. Elijah nodded. Like when they want you to do something and you ask why and all they say is, because I told you so? She sighed. Exactly. It's almost like they can't remember what it was like to be a kid, Elijah theorized. Zya's eyes got big. Do you think we're gonna forget what it's like to be us? Honestly, I don't know, Elijah said in that rather matter-of-fact tone he'd take every now and then. I wonder what happened to them, Zya said. Well, Elijah unwedged his foot to start back down. Maybe we'll turn out different. Zya was a strong runner. In fact, Elijah had started prodding her to try out for track and field. He was silly. That's what he was. Besides, high school wasn't for another couple years, and the middle school tryouts weren't till spring. So she didn't have to decide anything just yet. At that very moment, she popped through the trees and spotted her friend, standing underneath the old oak, panting, hands on his hips. Took you long enough, Elijah said with a mischievous side-eyed smirk, as they greeted each other with their very own secret handshake. Honestly, it's a miracle I'm even here. There's something I need to show you, he said, without any pomp or circumstance. Follow me. They went urgently and yet at a comfortable pace. As Zya and Eli ran, the leaves and branches crackled underfoot. There was a kind of peace and rhythm to their stride. It was the kind of jog run only a teenager can execute properly, almost clumsy and yet efficient in its own right. The sun was just starting to set, and soon enough the light would be gone. Even now, it began to wane, so that Zya had to strain her eyes. "How much farther?" she asked. "It's just over here," Elijah said, speeding up the hill. Zya followed, and indeed, as they reached the top, she could see a bluish-white glow oozing through the trees ahead. By the time she caught up, Eli was bent over, hands on his knees, and for some reason, she could only see his outline. Zya caught her breath. Now she could see why. Behind her friend was the source of the soft blue light. It appeared at first glance to be shaped like a door, but this door didn't have any hinges or a handle, and it didn't have a frame either. In fact, there was nothing else whatsoever. Even more astounding was that they were able to walk around it as if it led to nothing at all and was merely a paper-thin hallucination. But they were looking at it just the same. "Amazing, huh?" Elijah said, less like a question and more like a compliment. "How?" Zya asked, staring at it in awe. "I found it last night while I was out here. I could feel something tugging at me, and it led me here." "So what do you think it is?" she asked. "It seems to be a gateway, a portal of some sort." "What makes you think that?" "Well, for one, it checks off all the boxes. Glowing, gives off supernatural vibes, and oh yeah," he said, "it looks like a door." Zya smiled. "Where do you think it goes?" "No idea," he answered, "but I'd love to know how it works." "Well," she said, "let's find out." "Find out?" "I mean, it's a portal, right?" she asked. "Portals are meant to go through." "I don't know, Zya," Elijah said. "Oh, come on," she replied. "Aren't you even a little curious?" "Of course I'm curious," he said, but what?" "Well," he started, "who knows what's on the other side?" "Isn't that the point?" she asked. Elijah got quiet. "I don't know if this is random, Zya. It's certainly not naturally occurring, which means somebody placed it here on purpose." "Bingo," he said. "I went home last night and combed Google. There's never been anything like it documented, ever." They looked at each other and a streak of terror flashed across their eyes. But no feeling ever lasted too long between friends, and their momentary fear quickly dissipated into curiosity. Who created it? What do they want? Why would they put it here? "What if they're trying to get our attention?" Zya said. Eli cupped his chin with his hand as if in thought. "But why would an extraterrestrial life form looking to make contact with human beings put a portal in the middle of a forest?" Zya looked hard at Elijah. "Maybe they're trying to get our attention." He said. "That would make more sense. If they observed us before they'd know that, putting it here would make it likely we and no one else would find it." He said. "That would make sense. If they've observed us before, they'd know that putting it here would make it likely we and no one else would find it. But the question remains, why?" Zya's eyes lit up. This is exactly what she'd been waiting for. A chance to take a leap, to do something different for a change. Well then, she said, what are we waiting for? Eli tilted his head to the left, scrunching up his nose and raising an eyebrow in a look that said, Elijah is currently unavailable. Please try again. Come on, Zya said. He exhaled. It could be dangerous. Danger's my middle name, Zya said with a mischievous grin. It's not safe, Zya. Safe, she rolled her eyes. You sound like my mother. Oh, come on, Eli smiled. You know what I meant. There's no way to know what's on the other side, and it might be something that wants to hurt us. You're right, Zya nodded. Only one way to find out. And without another thought, she broke into a sprint. Zya! Elijah tried to grab her wrist, but it was too late. Another half second, and his friend slipped through the glowing door. Elijah shook his head. She was always like this, headstrong and stubborn. Ironically, it was one of the things he loved about her. So Elijah was faced with a choice. Stay put and make his friend face uncertainty alone, or follow her through and take on the challenge together. I'd really rather not, he said to himself, but you have to. There was no way he was going to let his friend down. He let out a heavy sigh, and then, with a flash, the forest was silent. Well, that is all for today. Thank you so much for being here. I've enjoyed this time, and I hope you have as well. Remember, if you like what you've heard, you can get your very own copy of Guardians of the Cosmic Clocks on any of your major online retailers. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, Audible, anywhere you can find books. If you really loved it and you want to support us for a few dollars a month and get your own free signed copies in your mailbox anytime we publish, you can become a patron at patreon.com/Jabril Youssef. And if you just want to be notified when a new book comes out and an important other updates, make sure to join our mailing list at guardiansofthecosmicclocks.com. Well, that's been all for today. So thank you again. And don't forget to keep being yourself and that you can be a hero wherever you are.